Do astral parasites control people? We're talking about demonic entities here. Scientists have seen the inhabitants of the subtle world. Our planet is not just a piece of rock dangling around the star in the cosmic darkness for some reason. The Earth is made up of 6 spheres nested one inside the other, some claim. In the astral sphere, the planets live after the death of the physical bodies, of the essence of almost all animals and the essence of most people. Also, the essences of extinct animals live there, which no longer have anyone to incarnate on the physical plane, because there is no one to start a new life in which the corresponding essences could move. We're talking about spiritual entities. The impossibility of incarnation means the impossibility of intensive nourishment of the subtle bodies, quote unquote, and their evolution. And that is why some of these essences of such animals were forced to adapt little by little to parasitize on people and all other living organisms of the physical world, feeding on their vital force, which is abundantly released into space during people's experience of all kinds of emotions, both positive and negative, so these people claim. The vast majority of these essences are not rational beings, but live by the simplest instincts and feed on our energy only for survival. Who exactly and for what reason lives on these or those material levels of our planet? It turns out that everything depends on the level of spiritual development, the level of development of the soul, the essence, that is, on the number and degree of developments of so-called subtle bodies of living beings, which in the aggregate are actually this or that being, its essence. At the time of incarnation on the physical level of the planet, the physical body is added to the essence, which dies after functioning for a certain number of years. So the essence of the simplest organisms and viruses live on the etheric level of the planet. At the astral level, the planets are inhabited after the death of physical bodies by the essences of almost all animals and plants and the essences of most people. The essences of elephants and dolphins live on the first mental level of the planet, the essences of people with a higher level of spiritual development. The essences of people with an even higher level of evolutionary development inhabit the second mental level of the planet, and so on. Our consciousness is controlled by astral entities. Well, we do have free will, obviously. We do have a certain control of our conscious. The time has come when even individual vulnerable scientists begin to take a serious interest in the subtle world, its astral inhabitants, and how they interact with us, earthly humanity. According to the SA Scientific Journal, a group of scientists from the University of Cape Town has made a sensational discovery. Confirmations have been received that our consciousness is controlled by astral entities. The significance of this discovery is so great that all research related to the study of this effect were not only classified, but attempts were made to remove all early publications with information about these studies. The general public has long known the method of Kirlian energy, for which the first time made it possible to obtain photographs of the field surrounding biological objects. Paranormal researchers associated these fields with the aura of objects. The scientific team of the University of Cape Town, South Africa, consisting of well-known scientists with many years of experience in researching paranormal phenomena, including aura fixation methods, headed by Guga Tobago, PhD, known in the scientific world for his research, has made a revolution in understanding the significance of these fields in human life. The research methods developed by scientists and the device invented by them made it possible not only to record the dynamic of the aura of biological objects, we're also talking about plants here, anything having life, biology, but also to make a discovery based on the experiments, which is unlikely to go unnoticed by the general world community. Research is still ongoing, but most of them are really classified due to the fact that they allow making sensational conclusions in assessing the behavioral characteristics of people. However, some of the research results of this group of scientists became public due to the fact that they could not be hidden. The fact is that in the testing of methods and devices developed by scientists, At the first stages of research, large groups of people were involved from whom it was impossible to hide information about the results of the experiments. The results obtained indicate that there is a direct connection between the so-called astral entities and a person. More detailed studies of the dynamics of these objects and their interactions made it possible to identify certain patterns of their behavior and relationship with people. The mentioned scientists claim that they managed to fix the stages of penetration of the astral entities into the object's aura. From the results of these studies, it follows that the first stages of penetration, the essence of the astral synchronizes its internal rhythms with the rhythms of the victim, and thus gains or does not gain access to the aura of the victim. In the case of penetration into the victim, the internal rhythms of the victim are restructured under the influence of the essence of the astral plane. Some information obtained in the early stages of research allow us to draw certain conclusions. It turns out that astral entities can be divided into two distinct types. Scientists conditionally designate them as black and pure. These names already say a lot characterizing these objects. They differ from each other both in the intensity of the glow, the spectral composition of the glow, and its dynamic characteristics. The impact of these entities on people also turned out to be different. Black entities, or lower spirits, for example, are constantly active in attempts to penetrate into the human aura. Pure entities, angels, as a rule, do not show such activity. To the obtained correlation between the activity of black entities and the psychological state of people also show the degree of influence on people, which is different from pure entities. As a rule, such an impact causes unjustified aggression of people, which is not adequate to the situation. Since the current younger generations of humans are becoming more and more aggressive, it can be assumed that they are becoming kind of hostile for black entities. On the basis of the conducted experiments, it became quite obvious that many people are under a constant direct influence of these low beings. Some information obtained during the experiments also testified to the fact that there is a clear relationship between the stable psychological state of a person and the purity of his aura, as well as its susceptibility to penetrations. The stability of the psychological state was determined by a number of medical and psychological tests, by the reactions of the subjects to certain specially created situations. To confirm or refute these findings, statistical studies were conducted on large groups of people. Various categories of people took part in these studies, from prisoners to groups of politicians and businessmen who gathered to discuss certain issues. The questions that were asked to the studied groups of people were specially prepared by a group of psychologists in order to obtain adequate behavioral responses. The results of these studies shocked the scientists. It turned out that the largest number of black entities, or low spirits, demonic what we call them, with partial or complete penetration into the aura, was recorded in groups of politicians and businessmen. The number of infected by black entities among politicians and businessmen turned out to be many times greater than the number of the same infected among prisoners. In addition, studies were conducted on the subject of infection with low astrals of many politicians of the highest rank from around the world. The results were depressing. Apparently, the actions of politicians are often inadequate to the political and economic situations in the world. Almost all people are subjected to periodic eating of their subtle bodies by these various astral animals, but from this, it's still impossible to conclude that people are controlled by these astral entities. After all, if flies sit on horses, we do not say that flies control horses. But everything is not so simple and unambiguous. On the one hand, the scientist's guess is absolutely correct that the more emotions a person experiences, the more life force or energy he releases into surrounding space, and the more food appears for astral animals. On the other hand, only a very small number of astral beings have intelligence and are able to effectively influence people. And to the greater extent, emotionality in people is not brought up by astral animals, but by highly developed parasites embodied in physical bodies, and doing this will, with the help of mass culture, many religions, education, upbringing, corruption, and other achievements of today's parasitic civilization. These earthly helpers operate under the direct control of stronger and very smart parasites that came to the earth from the hellish worlds. Of course, we're talking about demonic entities here. Life on the third material astral level of the planet is no less diverse than on the physical level, and even more so, because the vast majority of the essences of extinct creatures live there. Hence, those who no longer have anyone to incarnate on the physical level. To survive, they all need constant food, recharge from some source. Most eat up everything that catches their eye, but more developed essences rather quickly learn to influence living people and animals in such a way that they begin to show their emotions, during which a large amount of energy is released, primary matter received by the body from digested and split food. Part of this energy is absorbed by parasites, and the rest is dissipated in space. In addition, the parasites are present in the mental planes of the planet, and there are already quite literal, hence sufficiently developed entities that build gods, aliens, and other clowns in front of people. We also have visiting tourers who are also not averse to eating the vital force of people. Despite a lot of information accumulated over the past decades, the true nature of astral entities has remained a mystery to a significant part of researchers. However, something was found out with the highest degree of accuracy. Communication with astral entities carries a real threat to human health and life. Of course, it's not proper to could try and communicate with demonic entities. And this is on Solask. Please leave your comments. Thank you for your support. Finally, support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.